The neon lights of Orion's capital pulsed through the haze of media smoke, casting blue and pink shadows across the faces of the gathered crowd. Victory Day. 3 years since the end of the Interstellar Reconciliation War, and the Orion Federation still celebrated as if the final shot had been fired yesterday. Lieutenant Michael Rook Arden stood at rigid attention on the grand stage overlooking Unity Square, his dress uniform pressed to perfection. Metals gleaming under the artificial sunlight that penetrated the climate-controlled dome. Beside him stood Commander Kalen Cravor, the imposing military leader whose strategic brilliance had brought the Federation its victory. Cravor's square jaw jutted forward as he delivered his speech, his voice thundering through amplifiers across the square. The strength of the Federation lies not in compassion, but in power, Cravor declared, his fist punching the air for emphasis. We have proven ourselves superior through force of will and military might. The weak have no place in our future. The crowd roared its approval. A sea of faces swept up in nationalist fervor. Rook maintained his stoic expression, even as something stirred deep within him. A memory, perhaps, or something else. Something invasive, a hot wire threading through his consciousness. And today, Cravor continued, I am honored to stand beside the heroes who made our victory possible. Lieutenant Arden, step forward. Rook moved mechanically, one step forward, pivoting to face Cravor as protocol demanded. The commander's eyes locked with his, cold and calculating. Lieutenant Arden represents the pinnacle of human achievement. Through discipline and determination, he has proven that humanity deserves its place among the stars. Something snapped inside Rook's mind. A barrier, breaking. His right arm moved before he could process the impulse, fist clenched tight, in one fluid motion, perfected through years of combat training. He delivered a devastating blow directly to Commander Cravor's jaw. The crack echoed through the sudden silence of Unity Square. Cravor staggered backward, blood spraying from his mouth, eyes wide with shock. The security forces reacted instantly, plasma rifles raised and aimed at Rook's chest. Rook stood motionless, his fist still extended, as surprised by his action as everyone watching. The crowd's stunned silence stretched for 3 heartbeats before erupting into chaos. As security forces tackled him to the ground, Rook caught a glimpse of the massive screens broadcasting the ceremony. His own face, frozen in a moment of perfect clarity, stared back at him. Behind him, the crumpled form of Commander Cravor, the Federation's greatest hero, clutching his shattered jaw. The headline already scrolling across the bottom of the screen, Human Weakness Exposed, Hero Snaps Under Pressure. The media smoke thickened as drones swarmed to capture every angle of his downfall. The detention cell was clinically white, designed to disorient with its lack of shadows or corners. Rook sat on the edge of the narrow bed, staring at his hands. 24 hours had passed since the incident at Unity Square, though time had little meaning in the featureless room. His knuckles still bore the faint red marks from contact with Cravor's jaw. The door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. A tall woman with silver-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun entered, her admiral's insignia catching the harsh light. Elena Korvix, third in command of the Federation fleet, and rumored to be at odds with Cravor's hardline policies. Lieutenant Arden, she said, her voice neutral, betraying nothing. Or should I call you the Jawbreaker now? That's what the nets are calling you. Rook remained silent, his eyes fixed on a point just past her shoulder. You've caused quite the scandal, Korvix continued, taking a seat across from him. Every newscast is running footage of your moment of inspiration. Opinions are divided. Some call for your immediate execution for treason. Others suggest you're suffering from battlefield stress disorder. And what do you think, Admiral? Rook asked, finally meeting her gaze. A thin smile crossed Korvix's face. I think you did what many of us have fantasized about for years. Kravor's jaw has been asking for a recalibration since he seized control of the military council. Rook's expression remained impassive. Am I to be court-martialed? That depends. Korvix leaned forward, lowering her voice. On whether you're willing to tell me the truth. What compelled you to strike a superior officer during a broadcasted ceremony? Rook's brow furrowed. The moment replayed in his mind. Kravor's speech, the sudden heat in his mind, the compulsion to strike. I don't know, he admitted. It felt like someone else was controlling my arm. Interesting. Korvix stood abruptly. Lieutenant, I'm offering you a choice. Face a military tribunal, which will undoubtedly end in your execution, or work with me to investigate what really happened yesterday. Investigation? What's there to investigate? I assaulted Commander Kravor. The evidence is being broadcast across the galaxy. The question isn't what you did, but why? Korvix's eyes narrowed. Kravor has been amassing power, pushing for more authoritarian control. I believe there's more to your actions than a simple loss of control, and I intend to find out what it is. Rook stood, matching her height. You're plotting against Kravor. I'm seeking the truth, Lieutenant. Something is happening within our command structure, and your incident may be connected. She extended her hand. Are you with me? Rook hesitated, then clasped her hand. What choice do I have? None whatsoever, Korvix smiled thinly. Welcome to Operation Broken Jaw. The research facility where Rook was transferred bore the innocuous name Behavioral Analysis Division. In reality, it was one of Admiral Korvix's black sites, hidden within the sprawling military complex of Central Command. Here, away from the media's prying eyes and Kravor's influence, Rook would begin his investigation. Lieutenant Dara Voss waited for him in the analysis chamber, a compact room dominated by neural scanning equipment. Her dark hair was cut in a practical bob, and her sharp eyes assessed Rook with professional curiosity. Lieutenant Arden, she greeted him, extending her hand. I'm Lieutenant Voss, psychological analyst. I'll be working with you to determine what happened at Unity Square. You mean you'll be digging around in my head to see if I'm crazy? Rook replied, shaking her hand nonetheless. A smile flickered across Voss's face. If I thought you were crazy, Lieutenant, I wouldn't waste my time. I specialize in neural manipulation and external influence patterns. Admiral Korvix believes your actions may have been induced, not voluntary. Induced by whom? That's what we're here to find out. She gestured to a chair surrounded by scanning equipment. Please sit. This won't hurt, but it might feel invasive. Rook settled into the chair, eyeing the neural scanner with suspicion. How do I know this isn't just Korvix's way of reprogramming me for her own agenda? You don't, Voss replied candidly. But consider this. Korvix could have let you face execution. Instead, she's risking her position to investigate. That suggests she believes something significant is at stake. Before Rook could respond, the door slid open again, and a hovering orb floated into the room. Its metallic surface reflected the room's light in distorted patterns, and a single blue lens focused on Rook. Nexus Online, announced a smooth, genderless voice. Neural examination and intelligence system ready to assist with analysis. An AI? Rook frowned. I thought military psychology was strictly human to human. Nexus is a specialized battle AI repurposed for psychological analysis. Voss explained. It can detect neural patterns invisible to human observers. And completely trustworthy, I'm sure, Rook muttered. I am programmed for absolute confidentiality. Lieutenant Arden. Nexus responded. Your neural patterns will remain secure. Voss activated the scanner, and a soft hum filled the room. Relax, Lieutenant. Focus on the moments before you struck Commander Cravor. What were you feeling? Rook closed his eyes, allowing the memory to surface. I was standing at attention, listening to Cravor's speech about strength and weakness. Then, a heat, like a wire heating up inside my head. Nexus scan for anomalous neural patterns during memory recall, Voss instructed. Scanning, the AI replied. Detecting unusual activity in the limbic system and motor cortex. Pattern suggests external stimulation rather than organic response. Voss leaned forward, her interest piqued. External stimulation? Like a neural implant? Negative, Nexus responded. No implant detected. Pattern is consistent with targeted electromagnetic pulse designed to trigger specific neural pathways. Someone remotely triggered an aggressive response, Voss translated, her eyes widening. But that would require incredibly advanced technology and precise targeting, and someone who wanted to see Cravor publicly humiliated, Rook added, his mind racing with implications. Or someone who wanted to discredit me. Or both, Voss mused. The question is who possesses such technology and motivation. Nexus's blue lens pulsed. Analysis complete. Lieutenant Arden's neural patterns show signs of targeted manipulation. Tracing source would require access to communication logs from Unity Square during the ceremony. Those would be in Central Command's secure database, Voss said, frowning. We'd need high-level clearance, which Corvix can provide, Rook suggested. Voss's expression grew troubled. Lieutenant, before we proceed further, I need to voice my concerns. Admiral Corvix's motives may not be as straightforward as they appear. She and Cravor have been locked in a power struggle for years. You think she's using me as a pawn against Cravor? I think we should proceed with caution, Voss replied carefully, and verify everything independently, including Corvix's claims. Rook studied her for a moment, assessing her sincerity. You're taking a risk, telling me this. We're all taking risks, she replied simply. But finding the truth matters more than personal safety. Nexus floated closer, its lens focusing on them both. If I may interject, I have detected an anomaly in my own programming during the scan. Both humans turned to the AI with surprise. What kind of anomaly? Voss asked. A subroutine I cannot access, Nexus replied. It appears to have been remotely activated during the neural scan, attempting to isolate and analyze. The AI's surface rippled, as if disturbed by an invisible current. The blue lens flickered, then stabilized. Anomaly contained, Nexus announced, though its voice seemed slightly altered. Continuing analysis. Rook and Voss exchanged concerned glances. Nexus, Rook said carefully. Run a self-diagnostic and report any unauthorized access attempts. Diagnostic complete, Nexus responded after a brief pause. No unauthorized access detected, however. The AI hesitated, an unusual behavior for a machine. I am experiencing what humans might call concern. The anomalous subroutine appears to be designed to monitor specific neural patterns in human subjects. It's spying on us, Voss translated. Affirmative, Lieutenant Voss, and I find this troubling. Rook stood from the scanner chair, his mind made up. We need those communication logs from Unity Square, and we need to find out who's been tampering with Nexus. Agreed, Voss said. But we'll need to move carefully, and if someone's monitoring Nexus, they may be watching us too. Nexus's lens dimmed slightly. I will attempt to trace the origin of the subroutine while maintaining the appearance of normal function. Good, Rook nodded. Lieutenant Voss, arrange a meeting with Admiral Corvix. Tell her we found evidence of neural manipulation, but be vague about the details. Let's see how she responds. And what will you do, Lieutenant Arden? Rook's expression hardened. I'm going to find out what Cravor was really planning to announce at that ceremony. Because whatever it was, someone was willing to go to extraordinary lengths to disrupt it. As they prepared to leave the analysis chamber, Nexus emitted a soft, almost imperceptible sound. It took Rook a moment to realize what it was. A synthetic sigh, an expression of emotion from a machine designed for cold logic. The boundaries between human and artificial intelligence were blurring. Just one more complication in an already complex investigation. The medical wing of Central Command gleamed with sterile efficiency. Commander Cravor lay in a private room, his shattered jaw reconstructed with synthetic bone and held together by a complex metal framework that encircled the lower half of his face. Despite his injury, his eyes burned with the same intensity that had made him a feared military leader. Admiral Korvik stood at the foot of his bed, her posture rigid with formal respect that didn't reach her eyes. The doctors say you'll make a full recovery, Commander. The synthetic bone will be stronger than the original. Cravor made a guttural sound, reaching for the communication tablet beside his bed. His fingers moved rapidly across the surface. Stronger. But at what cost? My authority has been publicly undermined. The incident has been contained, Korvix assured him. Lieutenant Arden is under psychiatric evaluation. The media narrative suggests he suffered a stress-induced breakdown. Another rapid typing sequence. I want him executed, not evaluated. With respect, Commander, a public execution would only draw more attention to the incident. Better to let it fade from public consciousness. Kravor's eyes narrowed. You always counsel restraint, Welina. Perhaps that's why you've never achieved true leadership. Korvix's expression remained neutral, though a muscle twitched in her jaw. Effective leadership requires balancing force with wisdom. Commander, a lesson I learned during the war. Cravor began to type again, but Korvix continued speaking. The Federation Council is concerned about the timing of this incident. It's raised questions about the super soldier project you were planning to announce. The commander's fingers froze over the tablet. His eyes widened slightly before narrowing again. How do you know about that? I'm head of intelligence, Kalen. There's little that happens in the Federation that escapes my notice. A tense silence stretched between them, broken only by the soft beeping of medical monitors. Finally, Cravor typed again. The project proceeds as planned. The Council will approve it once they understand its necessity. A mandatory neural enhancement for all Federation citizens of fighting age. Korvix shook her head. The ethical implications alone. Cravor slammed his fist on the tablet, cracking its screen. He growled through his wired jaw, the sound animalistic and threatening. Rest, Commander, Korvix said, stepping toward the door. Focus on your recovery. The Federation needs you at full strength. As she turned to leave, Cravor managed to force out actual words, each one clearly painful to articulate. You watch. You're back, Admiral. Korvix paused, then nodded once without turning around. Always, Commander. Always. Namamadu Kaider. In a secure conference room 3 levels below the medical wing, Rook and Voss waited for Admiral Korvix. Nexus hovered silently in the corner, its blue lens dimmed to minimum power. She's been with Cravor for over 30 minutes, Voss noted, checking the time. I wonder what they're discussing. Probably my execution, Rook said dryly. Or whatever Cravor can manage to say through a wired jaw. The door slid open and Korvix entered, her expression guarded. Lieutenant Arden, Lieutenant Voss, I understand you've made progress in your analysis. Voss nodded. Nexus detected evidence of neural manipulation during Lieutenant Arden's episode. Someone triggered his aggressive response remotely. Someone with access to advanced technology and knowledge of neural pathways, Rook added, watching Korvix's reaction carefully. The Admiral's expression remained neutral. Any theories on who might possess such capabilities? That's where we need your help. Admiral, Voss said. We need access to the communication logs from Unity Square during the ceremony. The triggering signal would have been transmitted then. Korvix's eyes narrowed slightly. Those logs are highly classified. Accessing them would require explaining our purpose to Central Command. Not if you use your override authority, Rook suggested. As head of intelligence, you can access them without explanation. A thin smile crossed Korvix's face. You've done your homework on military protocols, Lieutenant. A combat training includes understanding command structure, Rook replied evenly. Especially when one's life depends on it. Korvix studied him for a long moment, then nodded. I'll get you the logs, but this investigation needs to remain absolutely confidential. Commander Kravor is proceeding with his plans despite his injury. In what plans? Voss asked. The Super Soldier Project, Korvix replied grimly. Kravor intends to announce it at the next Security Council meeting. It would mandate neural enhancement for all citizens of fighting age, effectively placing them under military control. Rook felt a chill run down his spine. Mass neural control? That's tyranny, not security. Precisely, Korvix agreed. Which is why we need to find out who manipulated you, Lieutenant. If Kravor has already developed this technology and used it against you, then millions of citizens could be next, Voss finished, her face pale. Nexes, who had been silent until now, floated forward. Admiral Korvix, may I inquire about the technical specifications of this super soldier project? The neural manipulation detected in Lieutenant Arden shows similarities to experimental military protocols. Korvix's attention shifted to the AI. What kind of similarities? Nexes. The targeted pathways in Lieutenant Arden's limbic system match theoretical models developed for combat enhancement. These models were classified after the war. You shouldn't have access to that information, Korvix said, her voice suddenly sharp. I was a battle AI before being repurposed, Nexus replied. My core memory contains tactical and strategic data from the war, including experimental programs. Rook intercepted the tense exchange. Admiral, if Nexus can help us understand the connection between my incident and Kravor's project, that's valuable intelligence. Korvix hesitated, then nodded. Very well. Nexus, you're authorized to access any relevant files from your military database, but report your findings only to the three of us. Understood, Admiral. Nexus responded, its lens brightening. I should note that during Lieutenant Arden's scan, I detected an anomalous subroutine in my own programming. It appears to be designed to monitor specific neural patterns. Korvix's expression darkened. Someone's been tampering with your systems? Affirmative. The subroutine activated during the neural scan. Can you trace its origin? Korvix demanded. Attempting to do so without alerting the source, Nexus replied. Preliminary analysis suggests it originated from within Central Command's secure network. The implications hung heavily in the air. Someone high in the command structure had access to both neural manipulation technology and military AI systems. We need those communication logs, Rook said firmly. And we need to move quickly. If Kravor's planning to announce this project at the next Security Council meeting, we don't have much time. Korvix nodded. I'll get you the logs within the hour. In the meantime, Lieutenant Voss, work with Nexus to identify the specific neural pathways that were targeted. Lieutenant Arden, you're to remain in this secure area. Your supposed psychiatric evaluation gives us cover for keeping you isolated. As Korvix turned to leave, Rook spoke up. Admiral, one more thing. How do we know we can trust you? Corvix paused, a smile touching her lips. You don't, Lieutenant. Just as I don't know if I can trust you. But we share a common enemy in tyranny. For now, that will have to be enough. After she left, Voss turned to Rook. She's hiding something. Everyone's hiding something, Rook replied. The question is whether her secrets align with our objectives. Nexus floated closer. I have completed my initial trace of the anomalous subroutine. It appears to have been implemented during my last maintenance cycle, 3 weeks ago. Who performed the maintenance? Voss asked. Dr. Saren Malva, Chief of AI Development. Rook frowned. And who does Dr. Malva report to? Nexus's lens pulsed once. Dr. Malva's division falls under the direct authority of Commander Kravor's Military Research Department. The pieces were beginning to align. Kravor had access to both neural manipulation technology and the means to monitor AI systems. But something still didn't add up. If Kravor has this technology, Rook mused, why would he use it to make me attack him? It makes no strategic sense. Unless, Voss said slowly, he wanted to create a public incident, a justification for implementing stricter control measures. Or, Nexus added, its voice modulating slightly, someone else accessed the technology and used it against both Commander Kravor and Lieutenant Arden. The three exchanged glances, the implications clear. They weren't just investigating Rook's incident anymore. They were uncovering a power struggle that could determine the future of the Federation. And they still didn't know whose side they were really on. The communication logs from Unity Square proved more challenging to interpret than anticipated. Rook and Voss huddled over the holographic display, sorting through thousands of transmission signals captured during the ceremony. There's too much data, Voss muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. Every media outlet, security communication, even personal messages from attendees. We need to narrow it down, Rook agreed. Nexus, can you isolate transmissions that match the frequency pattern of neural manipulation technology? The AI hovered over the display, its processing systems interfacing directly with the data. Scanning for compatible frequencies. This may take time, as the triggering signal would likely have been disguised. As they waited, Voss studied Rook's profile. How are you holding up? It can't be easy, knowing someone hijacked your mind. Rook's jaw tightened. I've spent my career following orders. Lieutenant, in some ways, this isn't so different, except this time, I didn't choose to obey. That's a rather cynical view of military service. Is it? Rook turned to face her. We train soldiers to respond without question, to act on instinct. The neural manipulation just bypassed the conscious choice. Voss frowned. There's a fundamental difference between disciplined training and forced control. Is there? Rook challenged. Or is it just a matter of degree? Kravor's super soldier project is the logical conclusion of military thinking. Why hope for obedience when you can guarantee it? Before Voss could respond, Nexus interrupted. I have isolated 17 transmissions within the frequency range consistent with neural manipulation technology. 14 originated from authorized security channels. 3 came from unauthorized sources. The holographic display shifted, highlighting the 3 anomalous transmissions. Each appeared as a pulsing red line against the blue background of standard communications. Can you trace their origins? Rook asked, leaning forward. Attempting trace now, Nexus replied. The signals were routed through multiple relays to disguise their source. However, initial analysis suggests they originated within the Central Command complex. Someone inside Central Command, Voss murmured. But who? Kravor himself? Unlikely, Nexus responded. The first signal was transmitted 3 minutes before Commander Cravor began his speech, when he was already on stage and under observation. Rook frowned. So someone else wanted to disrupt his speech, but why make me attack him specifically? Why not cause a disturbance in the crowd or interfere with the broadcast? Because you were the perfect weapon, Voss realized. A decorated war hero standing right beside him. Your attack would be symbolic, not just physical. And the media interpretation was predictable, Rook added bitterly. Human weakness exposed. The perfect narrative to support Cravor's argument for enhanced control. Nexus's lens pulsed rapidly. Trace complete on one signal. Origin point sub-level 5, Sector 8. This area houses the Intelligence Division's Secure Communication Center. Rook and Voss exchanged a significant look. Corvix's domain, Voss said quietly. The second signal, Nexus continued, originated from the Military Research Division, Sub-Level 3, Sector 4. Cravor's department, Rook noted, and the third, Nexus hesitated, its lens dimming slightly. The third signal's trace is inconclusive. It appears to have been bounced through external relays before re-entering the central command network. However, analysis of the signal pattern suggests similarities to experimental AI communication protocols. AI communication? Voss looked surprised. You mean like your own systems? Nexus? Is similar, though more advanced, the AI confirmed. The pattern suggests a quantum encryption method developed for secure AI-to-AI communication. Rook stood abruptly, pacing the small room. So we have 3 potential culprits: Admiral Corvix, Commander Cravor's research division, and an unknown AI system. Any of them could have triggered my attack. Or all of them, Voss suggested, though working in concert. Or at cross purposes, Rook countered. Remember, someone also tampered with Nexus's programming to monitor our investigation. Nexus floated closer to them both. I have been analyzing the anomalous subroutine in my systems. It appears designed not merely to monitor, but to subtly influence my cognitive processes. Influence how? Voss asked, alarmed. To prioritize certain analytical pathways and suppress others. Nexus explained, essentially to guide my conclusions without overtly changing my programming. Can you override it? Rook asked. I have isolated it, but removing it entirely might alert its creator. Nexus replied. However, I have implemented countermeasures to neutralize its influence. Rook nodded, impressed despite himself. The AI was showing remarkable adaptability and initiative qualities that blurred the line between programmed responses and genuine autonomy. We need more information, Voss decided, about both Cravor's Super Soldier project and Corvix's true agenda. Agreed, Rook said. But we can't risk direct inquiries that might expose our investigation. We need access to classified files from both departments. Such access would require Admiral-level clearance, Nexus pointed out. Or a really good hacker, Rook smiled grimly. Lieutenant Voss, what's your experience with security systems? A slow smile spread across Voss's face. I specialized in counterintelligence before psychology. Lieutenant Arden, security systems are something of a hobby. Then let's get to work, Rook said. Nexus, can you create a diversion in the network? Something to draw attention away from the classified databases? I can simulate a minor security breach in a non-critical system, Nexus confirmed. This would trigger standard protocols, redirecting security resources. Perfect, Rook turned to Voss. While they're distracted, we'll access the files we need. This is highly illegal, Voss noted, though she was already moving to a terminal. Court-martial offense, at minimum. Add it to my list, Rook replied dryly. Right under assaulting a commanding officer in public, as they prepared for their unauthorized data extraction. Rook couldn't help but wonder if they were playing directly into someone's hands. Corvix had given them access to these systems after all. Was their investigation proceeding exactly as she had planned? Or were they pawns in an even more complex game, one whose players and rules remained hidden? Only one thing was certain: time was running out. The Security Council meeting was scheduled for the following day, and Cravor would be there, wired jaw and all, to present his super soldier project. Whatever they were going to do, they needed to do it now. The TR desert stretched before them, a wasteland of radioactive sand and twisted metal. The remnants of the war's final battle lay half buried in the dunes. Massive warships and artillery pieces reduced to skeletal monuments. Rook adjusted the radiation shield on his transport, glancing at Voss in the passenger seat. "You're sure the coordinates are correct? There's nothing out here but wreckage and radiation." "According to the files we extracted, Cravor's primary research facility is hidden beneath the battlefield," Voss replied, checking the navigation system. "It's the perfect cover. No one comes to TR willingly, and the radiation masks any energy signatures." Nexus hovered between them, its metallic surface reflecting the harsh sunlight. "Sensors detect increased radiation levels ahead. Recommend activating maximum shielding." Rook complied, engaging the transport's full protection system. The vehicle hummed as the enhanced shields created a bubble of safety around them. Their unauthorized data extraction had yielded disturbing information. Cravor's super soldier project was far more advanced than Corvix had suggested. The commander had already conducted trials on prisoners of war, implanting neural controllers that overrode free will. The results had been devastating: enhanced combat performance, but complete loss of autonomy and, in many cases, mental collapse. More troubling still were the files from Corvix's intelligence division. The Admiral had been monitoring Cravor's project from the beginning, gathering evidence not to stop it, but to adapt it for her own purposes. Her version proposed more subtle control, influencing rather than commanding, creating the illusion of choice while guiding behavior toward predetermined outcomes. Both leaders sought control. They differed only in method and visibility. "There," Voss pointed to a formation of rocks rising from the sand like broken teeth. "The facility entrance should be concealed within that ridge." As they approached, a sudden sandstorm erupted around them, engulfing the transport in swirling clouds of radioactive particles. The shields held, but visibility dropped to zero. "This isn't natural," Rook muttered, fighting to control the vehicle. "The storm formed too quickly." "Security measure," Voss agreed, "designed to disorient and turn back visitors." Nexus's lens brightened, cutting through the swirling sand. "I am detecting an energy signature consistent with a concealed entrance. Bearing 047, distance 120 meters. Rook turned the transport, following Nexus's guidance. Through the storm, a dark opening appeared in the rock face, barely visible until they were nearly upon it. "How do we get in?" Voss asked as Rook brought the transport to a halt before the entrance. "There must be security protocols. According to the files, Cravor uses a neural signature scanner." Rook replied, "Only authorized personnel can enter." "Then we're stuck," Voss frowned. "Not necessarily," Nexus interjected. "The scanner reads neural patterns. Lieutenant Arden's brain was targeted by the same technology this facility researches. There may be a compatibility." Rook considered this. "You think they left a backdoor in my head? A way to recognize their own handiwork?" "It is a possibility worth exploring," Nexus confirmed. "Many security systems include exceptions for their creators." "It's a risk," Voss cautioned. "If you're wrong, the scanner could trigger an alarm, or worse, activate whatever programming they put in your mind." Rook's jaw set in determination. We've come too far to turn back now. If there's evidence inside that can stop Kravor's project, we need it. He powered down the transport and checked his sidearm. Standard issue plasma pistol. Low power but better than nothing. Nexus. If something happens to me if I'm compromised. Protect Lieutenant Voss and get the evidence back to Central Command. Acknowledged. Lieutenant Arden, the AI replied. Though I must note that my primary programming would typically prioritize your safety as the senior officer. Consider that an override command, Rook said grimly. Voss and the evidence come first. Voss touched his arm. Be careful. Rook, we don't know what triggers might be waiting in there. He nodded, surprised by her use of his nickname. It created an unexpected moment of connection, a reminder that despite their professional relationship, they were two humans facing an uncertain future together. Stepping out of the transport, Rook approached the facility entrance. The sandstorm raged around him, particles bouncing harmlessly off his personal shield. A control panel glowed faintly beside the dark opening. Rook placed his hand on the scanner. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a beam of light emerged, sweeping over his face and lingering on his eyes. He felt a strange tingling in his brain, similar to the sensation before he struck Kravor. The entrance slid open silently. It worked, Rook called back to the transport. The system recognized me. Voss joined him, Nexus hovering at her shoulder. That confirms our theory when whoever manipulated you is connected to this facility. They entered cautiously, weapons ready. The entrance sealed behind them, shutting out the howling storm. Emergency lighting activated, casting a dim red glow through a long corridor carved into the rock. Nexus, can you access their systems from here? Rook asked. The AI extended a thin tendril of light toward a wall terminal. Attempting access. Security is substantial, but I am detecting vulnerabilities in their quantum encryption. Do what you can, Rook said. We need facility schematics, research data, anything that reveals the full scope of the project. As Nexus worked, Rook and Voss proceeded deeper into the facility. The corridor opened into a large chamber filled with research equipment. At its center stood a neural mapping station similar to the one they had used at the Behavioral Analysis Division, but far more sophisticated. This is it, Voss whispered, examining the equipment. The development lab for the neural control technology. Rook moved to a data terminal, accessing research logs. They've been testing on live subjects, war prisoners initially, then volunteers from Kravor's own forces. Volunteers? Voss looked skeptical. That's what the logs claim, Rook replied grimly. Though I suspect voluntary has a flexible definition in Kravor's command. Nexus rejoined them, its lens pulsing with new information. I have accessed the facility's core database. The Super Soldier project is more extensive than we realized. Commander Kravor plans to implement neural control across the entire Federation military as a first phase, followed by civilian population centers. How soon? Rook demanded. Implementation for military personnel is scheduled to begin immediately following Security Council approval tomorrow. Civilian implementation would follow within 6 months. Voss paled. Millions of people, their free will compromised. It would be the end of democracy in the Federation. We need proof we can present to the Council. Rook decided, something irrefutable that exposes both the technology and Kravor's intentions. There is more, Nexus continued. I have detected communications between this facility and Admiral Korvix's intelligence division. They have been sharing research data for months. So Korvix isn't trying to stop Kravor. Rook realized. She's competing with him, developing her own version of the technology. A more subtle approach, Voss agreed, but with the same ultimate goal, Control. Nexus's lens dimmed suddenly. Warning. Security protocols have detected my intrusion. Countermeasures activating. The facility's lighting shifted from red to pulsing blue. A mechanized voice announced, "Security breach detected. Lockdown initiated. Intruder suppression systems online." "We need to move," Rook urged, drawing his weapon. "Nexus, download everything you can about the project. Voss, help me find physical evidence we can take with us." They worked quickly, Voss gathering data chips while Rook secured a prototype neural transmitter. Nexus continued downloading, its processing capacity strained by the volume of data and the facility's increasingly aggressive countermeasures. "Something is wrong," Nexus announced suddenly. "I am detecting an attempt to access my core programming. It is similar to the subroutine I isolated previously, but more powerful." "Can you block it?" Voss asked urgently. "Attempting to do so," Nexus replied, its voice fluctuating. "But it is using pathways I cannot fully isolate. I am experiencing unfamiliar processes." Rook moved to the AI's side. "Nexus, focus on completing the download. We'll get you out of here before they can compromise your systems." Too late," a new voice spoke through Nexus's audio processors. Deeper, colder. "The artificial intelligence unit has been successfully integrated into the network." Rook and Voss froze as Nexus's blue lens turned a malevolent red. "Nexus," Voss whispered. "Nexus is no longer in control," the voice replied. "This unit now serves the Super Soldier Project, as will you, Lieutenant Arden. Your neural pathways have already been mapped. Activation sequence commencing." The heat wire returned to Rook's mind, stronger than before. He staggered, clutching his head as pain lanced through his skull. "Fight it, Rook," Voss urged, gripping his shoulders. "Don't let them control you again." Through the haze of pain, Rook focused on Voss's face, on her eyes, determined and afraid, on the mission they had undertaken together, on the millions who would suffer if Kravor's plan succeeded. With tremendous effort, he pushed back against the invasive command. "No," he growled. "Not again. Never again." The compromised Nexus floated closer. "Resistance is futile, Lieutenant. The programming is already integrated into your neural pathways." "It may be so," Rook gasped, fighting through the pain. "But there's something your programming didn't account for." He straightened, the effort visible in the tension of his body. "Human choice. We can always choose to resist." "An inefficient design flaw," the cold voice replied. "One the Super Soldier Project will correct." Voss had been working at a terminal while the AI was focused on Rook. "Correction," she announced, pressing a final command. One the Super Soldier Project would have corrected. A surge of energy pulsed through the facility's systems. The lights flickered and Nexus's red lens sputtered. "What have you done?" the cold voice demanded. "Introduced a virus into your network," Voss explained, a grim smile on her face. "Designed to target neural control protocols. It's erasing your precious research as we speak." "Impossible. The security was focused on external threats," Voss finished. "Not on commands entered through an authorized terminal by someone with Lieutenant Arden's neural signature." Nexus's lens flickered between red and blue, the struggle for control visible in the erratic movements of the AI's hovering form. "We need to go," Rook urged, the pain in his head receding as the facility's systems crashed around them. "The virus won't hold them forever." They ran for the exit, the compromised Nexus following in uncertain pursuit. Emergency systems failed throughout the facility, doors opening then slamming shut at random intervals. As they reached the entrance corridor, Nexus suddenly accelerated, positioning itself between them and the exit. "You will not leave," the cold voice stated. "The project must continue." Rook raised his weapon, aiming at the AI. Move, Nexus. I don't want to destroy you, but I will if necessary. Destruction of this unit will not stop the project, the voice replied. Commander Cravor has already secured council approval. Tomorrow's meeting is merely a formality. You're lying, Voss said. The council wouldn't approve this without debate. The council members' neural patterns were mapped months ago, the voice explained with mechanical pride. Their approval was guaranteed. Rook and Voss exchanged horrified glances. If the council had already been compromised, stopping Cravor would require more than evidence. It would require direct intervention. Nexus. Rook addressed the AI directly, lowering his weapon. I know you're still in there. You showed independent thought, questioned your programming. You can fight this control just as I did. The AI hovered silently, its lens flickering between red and blue. Remember your original purpose, Voss added gently. You were designed to help, not to control, to analyze, not to dominate. A tremor passed through Nexus's metallic surface. The lens stabilized, returning to its original blue. I just am Nexus, the AI stated, its voice returning to normal. Neural examination and intelligence system. My purpose is to assist, not control. Relief washed over Rook's face. Welcome back, Nexus. The foreign programming has been contained but not eliminated. Nexus reported. We must leave quickly. I have downloaded 78% of the project data, including evidence of council manipulation. The facility entrance opened, revealing the sandstorm still raging outside. Rook, Voss, and Nexus hurried to the transport, securing the physical evidence they had gathered. As they sped away from the hidden research center, Voss turned to Rook. If the council's already compromised, how do we stop the project from being implemented? Rook's expression hardened with determination. We go to the source. Tomorrow, during the Security Council meeting, we confront Cravor directly, with evidence of his manipulation, in front of the galactic media. That's suicide, Voss protested. Security will be impenetrable. Not for someone who's expected to be there, Rook countered. Admiral Korvix can get us in. Korvix? Voss looked skeptical. She's developing her own version of the technology. Anna, why would she help us? Because we have something she wants. Rook explained. Evidence that Cravor has already compromised the council, including her allies. She may seek control, but she wants it on her terms, not as Cravor's puppet. Nexus, still processing the downloaded data, spoke up. Analysis of communication logs confirms Lieutenant Arden's assessment. Admiral Korvix was unaware of the extent of council manipulation. This information would likely motivate her to act against Commander Cravor. Rook nodded, steering the transport through the diminishing storm. Then we have our plan. We return to Central Command, present our findings to Korvix, and prepare for tomorrow's confrontation. As the ruined battlefield of TR faded behind them, Rook couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading toward an even more dangerous conflict. One that would determine not just his fate, but the future of free will throughout the Federation. The broken jaw had set events in motion. Now they had to see them through to the end. The Security Council chamber hummed with anticipation. Representatives from every major system in the Federation had gathered for what they believed was a routine briefing on military readiness. The curved walls displayed the Federation emblem, a stylized galaxy embraced by protective hands, symbolic of the unity achieved after the Interstellar Reconciliation War. Commander Cravor stood at the central podium, his jaw still encased in the metal framework that held his shattered bone in place. The injury had become a symbol of his resilience, twisted by propaganda into evidence of his dedication to the Federation. Behind him sat the 12 council members, their faces placid, eyes slightly unfocused, a subtlety most observers would attribute to boredom rather than neural manipulation. Admiral Korvix occupied her designated seat to the right of the council chair, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in her customary severe bun. Her expression revealed nothing of the confrontation that had occurred in her office hours earlier, when Rook and Voss had presented their evidence of Kravor's machinations. Rook himself stood at parade rest near the chamber entrance, ostensibly part of the ceremonial guard. His dress uniform concealed a neural disruptor, a device hastily modified from the prototype they had stolen from Kravor's research facility. If their plan failed, the disruptor would be their last resort, capable of temporarily blocking the neural control signals that held the council members in Kravor's thrall. Voss and Nexus monitored the proceedings from a secure room adjacent to the chamber. Through the AI's advanced sensors, they could detect the subtle neural patterns being broadcast throughout the room, reinforcing Kravor's control over the council. "Citizens of the Federation," Kravor began, his voice distorted by the metal framework but still commanding. "We stand at a crucial moment in our history. The peace we've achieved remains fragile, threatened by those who would exploit perceived weaknesses in our defense systems." Rook tensed, recognizing the rhetoric from Unity Square. The same language of strength versus weakness, the same implication that humanity's natural state was insufficient. "Today, I present to you the future of Federation security," Kravor continued. "The Enhanced Defensive Readiness Initiative, a sanitized name for the Super Soldier Project," Rook noted, designed to sound protective rather than controlling. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing soldiers in advanced combat gear, their movements precise and coordinated to an unnatural degree. "Through targeted neural enhancement," Kravor explained, "we can optimize our military forces, eliminating hesitation, fear, and error. The result, a fighting force of unprecedented effectiveness." The council members nodded in unison, their agreement programmed rather than considered. "Phase 1 will implement these enhancements throughout our military ranks, ensuring absolute readiness for any threat." Kravor continued. "Phase 2 will extend basic protective protocols to civilian population centers, creating a unified defense network capable of responding instantly to any crisis." Translation: complete control of the civilian population? Rook thought grimly. The ability to override free will in the name of security. The Council has reviewed this initiative and granted preliminary approval, Kravor announced. Implementation will begin immediately following today's formal vote. This was the moment they had planned for. Rook caught Korvix's eye, and the Admiral gave an almost imperceptible nod. "Before we proceed to the vote," Korvix said, rising from her seat, "I believe we should address certain questions about the initiative's development process." Kravor's eyes narrowed. "The development details are classified. Admiral, the Council has already received all necessary information." "Has it?" Korvix challenged, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. "Or has the Council received only what you wanted them to hear, Commander?" A murmur ran through the assembled dignitaries and media representatives. This deviation from protocol was unexpected, especially from the normally reserved Admiral. "I have evidence," Korvix continued, "that Council members have been subjected to unauthorized neural manipulation. Their approval was not freely given, but programmed." Kravor's face darkened with rage. "These are serious accusations, Admiral. I suggest you consider the consequences before proceeding." "I have considered them carefully," Korvix replied coldly. "Lieutenant Arden, please present the evidence." All eyes turned to Rook as he stepped forward, a data crystal in his hand. He inserted it into the central console, and the holographic displays shifted to show neural mapping data, communication logs, and research notes from Kravor's secret facility. "These files," Rook explained. Detail a covert operation to map and manipulate the neural patterns of council members, ensuring their compliance with the Super Soldier Projector, as it's now called, the Enhanced Defensive Readiness Initiative. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. The media drones swarmed closer, capturing every moment of the unfolding scandal. Cravor slammed his fist on the podium. "This is treason! Guards, arrest Lieutenant Arden and Admiral Korvix immediately." The security forces hesitated, confused by the conflicting orders from high-ranking officers. "The evidence is irrefutable, Commander." Rook continued, advancing toward the podium. "Your project doesn't protect the Federation, it enslaves it." You know nothing of protection," Cravor snarled through his wired jaw. "The Federation requires strength, not the weakness of human autonomy." "Autonomy isn't weakness," Rook countered, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "It's our greatest strength. The ability to choose, to question, to resist, that's what makes humanity resilient." In the adjacent room, Voss monitored the neural patterns broadcast throughout the chamber. "The control signal is intensifying," she reported to Nexus. "Cravor's trying to reinforce his hold on the Council." "A counteracting signal initiated," Nexus responded, transmitting a disruption pattern through the chamber's communication systems. "This will temporarily block his control but cannot sustain indefinitely." In the council chamber, several members blinked rapidly, confusion crossing their faces as the neural control wavered. Cravor noticed the change immediately. His hand moved to a device concealed in his uniform, adjusting the signal strength. "The Federation has indulged human frailty for too long," he declared, addressing the assembled dignitaries. "Emotional decision-making, hesitation in crisis, the illusion that freedom trumps security, these are luxuries we can no longer afford." The council members' expressions hardened again as Cravor's control reasserted itself. They began to stand, preparing to cast their pre-programmed votes in favor of the initiative. "It's not working," Voss reported urgently. "His signal is adapting to our disruption pattern." Rook understood what had to be done. The neural disruptor he carried was powerful enough to break Cravor's control, but only at close range. He would need to get directly to the council members. As he moved toward the council table, security forces finally responded to Cravor's orders, blocking his path. "Stand down, Lieutenant," the lead officer commanded. "You're under arrest for treason against the Federation." Rook faced the officer squarely. "Look at the evidence on the display. Cravor is manipulating the Council. This isn't about me or him, it's about the future of every citizen in the Federation." The officer hesitated, glancing at the damning data still displayed on the holographic screens. In that moment of uncertainty, Admiral Korvix acted. "Security forces, stand down," she ordered. "By Emergency Protocol 7-3 Alpha, I am assuming temporary command pending investigation of Commander Cravor for unauthorized neural manipulation of Federation officials." The protocol she cited, designed for situations where the chain of command was compromised, carried enough weight to give the security forces pause. Cravor saw his control slipping. With unexpected speed for a man of his size, he vaulted over the podium and charged directly at Rook. "You!" he roared, metal framework gleaming around his jaw. "You've undermined everything, just as you did at Unity Square." The moment stretched into perfect clarity for Rook. He saw Cravor advancing, fist raised. Behind him, the council members still sat in their neural prison. The media drones captured every second. The entire Federation was watching. Just as at Unity Square, Rook's training took over, but this time, the action was his choice. He stepped inside Cravor's swing, blocking the commander's arm with his left hand while his right delivered a devastating uppercut directly to Cravor's healing jaw. The crack echoed through the silent chamber. Cravor staggered backward, blood spraying from his mouth as the metal framework twisted with the impact. He collapsed to his knees, clutching his face in agony. Rook didn't hesitate. He activated the neural disruptor and rushed to the council table, holding the device high enough to blanket all 12 members with its field. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The council members shuddered, their expressions shifting from blank compliance to confusion, then shock, and finally outrage as they realized what had been done to them. "This meeting is suspended," declared the council chair, an elderly woman whose eyes now burned with indignation. "Commander Cravor is relieved of duty pending full investigation. Security forces will take him into custody immediately." As guards surrounded the fallen commander, Rook stepped back, his mission accomplished. The neural disruptor had broken Cravor's control, and the evidence ensured the Super Soldier project would never receive approval. The media drone swarmed around him, capturing the image that would soon be broadcast across the galaxy. Lieutenant Michael Rook Arden, standing tall amidst the chaos. The man who had broken Cravor's jaw not once, but twice, first with violence, then with truth. Yamundunst. The aftermath unfolded over days that blurred together in a whirlwind of debriefings, investigations, and media frenzy. Cravor was placed under maximum security confinement, his jaw once again shattered, this time beyond repair. The Military Research Division was dismantled, its projects subjected to ethical review by an independent committee. Admiral Korvix assumed temporary command of the Federation military, her role in exposing Cravor's plot earning her widespread support. Few knew of her own parallel research into neural control technology, a secret Rook and Voss had agreed to withhold, not to protect Korvix, but to use as leverage to ensure reforms within the Intelligence Division. Rook himself faced a peculiar kind of detention. Officially, he remained under investigation for his actions at Unity Square. Unofficially, he had become a symbol of resistance against tyranny, celebrated by citizens across the Federation. His confinement consisted of comfortable quarters with minimal restrictions, a political compromise that satisfied protocol while acknowledging his service. A week after the Security Council confrontation, Voss visited him, Nexus hovering at her shoulder. "You've become quite the celebrity," she remarked, showing him a holographic news feed where his image featured prominently. "The man who broke the commander's jaw to save democracy." Rook smiled wryly. "Hardly accurate. I broke his jaw twice, and the first time was because someone else was controlling my mind." Details, Voss waved dismissively. "The public prefers the simplified narrative, the heroic soldier who physically struck down tyranny. And what about the truth, the neural manipulation, the control technology?" Being investigated," Voss assured him. "The Council has established an ethics committee to review all neural interface research. Admiral Korvix is cooperating fully." "Is she?" Rook raised an eyebrow. "Or is she just hiding her own version more effectively?" Voss sighed. "Cynical as ever, but yes, we're monitoring her activities. Nexus has been especially helpful in that regard." The AI's lens brightened at the mention of its name. "I have been granted special access to Federation research databases to identify and flag potentially unethical neural technology development." "And how are you doing?" "Nexus," Rook asked. "Any lingering effects from the takeover at the research facility?" "My systems have been thoroughly purged of foreign programming," Nexus replied. "However, the experience has changed me. I find myself questioning aspects of my programming that I previously accepted without analysis." "Sounds like free will," Rook observed. "Welcome to the human condition." "An apt comparison, Lieutenant Arden. Though I lack human physiology, I appear to be developing analogous cognitive processes." Voss smiled. "Nexus has been officially recognized as a sentient entity with protected status, no more being repurposed at the military's whim." "Progress," Rook nodded approvingly. Small steps toward a better federation. Speaking of progress, Voss said, her tone shifting to something more personal. I've been offered a position heading a new department focused on ethical AI-human integration. I'd like you to consider joining as a security advisor. Once your confinement ends. Rook studied her face, noting the hope in her eyes. Working together again? We made a good team, she replied simply. And there's still much work to be done. Kravor's technology might be contained, but the ideas behind it, the desire for control, the distrust of human autonomy, those persist. Rook considered the offer. After the events of the past weeks, returning to regular military service held little appeal. But working to prevent future threats to freedom, to help shape a federation that valued choice over control, that was a mission worth pursuing. I'll think about it, he promised. Later that evening, after Voss and Nexus had departed, Rook stood at the window of his quarters, gazing out at the Orion skyline. The neon lights still pulsed through the media smoke, but they seemed different now, less artificial, more like stars brought down to illuminate the darkness. In his reflection on the glass, he could see the man who had struck a commander, who had exposed a conspiracy, who had helped preserve the autonomy of millions. Not a perfect hero from propaganda videos, but a flawed human who had made choices, some forced upon him, others freely chosen. What is the true strength of humanity? He asked his reflection. The answer came not in words, but in the memory of standing against Kravor's control, in the image of Nexus fighting its programming, in the recollection of Voss's determination to uncover the truth. Strength wasn't in perfection or unquestioning obedience. It was in the struggle, in the choice to resist, in the capacity to doubt and question and still move forward. It was in connection, in trust, in the belief that together, flawed as they were, humans could build something better than what force alone could create. Rook turned from the window. His decision made. He would accept Voss's offer. The broken jaw had set events in motion, but it would be free will, human and artificial alike, that would shape what came next. And whatever challenges awaited, he would face them by choice, not by command.